everyone, welcome to QuickBooks Online. These are on-demand webinars for our friends at the SBDC, and this one is expanding QBO. What we're going to do is explore how we can add on to the functionality or expand the functionality of QuickBooks Online using some of the things that we call the QuickBooks Online ecosystem. So some of the add-ons that are available for QuickBooks Online for small businesses to use. A little bit about myself. My name is Stacey and I own and operate Kildall Services, LLC in White Lake, Michigan. I have been doing that for about 10 years. I've owned that for about 10 years now. I have written or reviewed or had my hand somehow in much of Intuit's QuickBooks Online training. I was the first pro advisor to get QuickBooks Online certified. I have been teaching QuickBooks both desktop and online internationally actually now. I went to for about 8 or 9 years now to end users, accountants, QuickBooks consultants, pretty much anybody who uses QuickBooks. And one of the reasons I get to do that is I am a member of the Intuit Trainer and Writer Network, and we're a group of accounting professionals. We all own our own practices, and what we do is we have applied an audition, and Intuit calls upon us and asks us to develop presentations, develop content and training materials, and sometimes present it as well. And one of the other things I get to do, which is really fun, is I am co-host and co-founder of a weekly online radio show called Radio Free QuickBooks, online radio show / podcast, really. And what we do is for 90 minutes every week, we talk about anything that is related to accounting and QuickBooks and basically being a small business owner. It's Wednesdays from 7:30 to 9 p.m. And again, if you use QuickBooks, it's a really great resource. We have a lot of best practices, a lot of how-tos. We talk about workarounds within the products. We have guests on to talk about fraud prevention, data breach, tax compliance, and things like that. So nice resource, kind of interesting. I hope you check it out. Our course objectives, I'm going to help you guys identify the needs of some apps that are going to help small businesses work more effectively, show you some of those third-party apps that are available and how to get to them. I'm also going to talk a little bit about the payroll offerings that Intuit has that work with QuickBooks Online, and then show you how easy it is to just add an app. We're just going to pick an app from the App Center and add it to QBO. So when we're talking about these add-ons and these apps, a lot of small businesses are using more and more of these apps to run and manage and grow their business. So there's tons of them that are out there. There's Salesforce, there's PayPal, there's eBay, there's web stores. They're using their banking, online banking. And so what's happening is there are a lot of different points of entry. There can be errors in the data reconciliation. The customer info, can be in a lot of different places. And sometimes what happens with this is because there are all of these non-connected, sort of disjointed places where small business owners and the employees that work for them are entering and dealing with this data, there's not really ability to see a consolidated view of what's going on with those customers in their system. And there's also really no separation of duties. So a lot of times, and that has to do with being a small business owner too, a lot of times the office manager kind of really deals with a lot of that stuff, that could be delegated out if they had the proper tools. And I think the pain seems to be getting a little bit worse because there are so many choices out there. It's one of those things where what I'm seeing, not just with small business owners, but also with other accounting professionals, is that because there's so many choices, a lot of them really don't know where to start. They really don't, that they have easier access, but there's so many to choose from, it's almost a little bit overwhelming. So I think the pain is getting a little bit worse, and so hopefully we have some solutions to help that. We're going to talk about, again, what we call the QuickBooks Online experience with some payroll options and some third-party add-ons. We refer to this as the QBO ecosystem. And you can see here at the heart of that we have QuickBooks Online, and then we have all these other tools that you can add on. And what's really great about all of them is you can plug these add-ons into it. And, we have over here method integration. This is a really great CRM. So you could conceivably have your core accounting staff or have the small business's core accounting staff dealing with QBO. And then you can go ahead and you can add on method, and you could have a sales and outside sales staff dealing with customer leads and generation, lead generation and getting estimates in and doing all of their sales stuff. And they are just dealing with method. So they can enter in the customers or the leads, they can convert them to customers, they can create estimates, and all of that will flow back into QBO. So once you have maybe an estimate that comes from method and flows into QuickBooks Online, maybe you have a project manager, and so they're going to take that estimate that's in QuickBooks Online and they're going to use the project management tool such as Mavenlink to create their project and manage it. Or maybe they have, the estimate in here, your accounting staff turns it into an invoice, and then maybe a warehouse staff over here using SOS Inventory is going to fulfill that order. They're going to create the packing slip and really pack that order and ship it out. And what's great is the method users have their own user access, the QBO users have their own access, your warehouse staff has their own access as well. So nobody needs to get into QuickBooks Online, nobody needs to get into the financial data unless they absolutely positively have to. When we're talking about payroll options, there's 3 different payroll options that work with QuickBooks Online. And the first one is the Intuit QuickBooks Online Payroll. So this is something that is built within QuickBooks Online. There's an employee section that they can go and they can just turn payroll on. It's an additional monthly subscription, so it's an add-on to their already existing QuickBooks Online subscription fee. And I like to recommend this if the client is really comfortable doing their own payroll and they're pretty, ready for it, their game. It's still pretty simple. They can do e-filing, e-pay, and it's all sort of right there. We have what's called Intuit Online Payroll or Intuit Online Payroll for Accountants. So there's 2 different versions. This is an outside of QuickBooks Online program. So they would go to a separate website and open that up and do payroll. So I recommend this for people who maybe don't want to have to do all of the payroll tasks. Maybe you want to collaborate. This is maybe if the accounting professional is going to be handling the payroll solutions, or possibly the accounting professional and the small business owner are going to be collaborating. Maybe the small business owner is just going to go in and have someone enter in the payroll, or maybe they just hire somebody part-time. They can just go in and process the payroll and do it that way, and it will integrate with QuickBooks Online. And then we have kind of a whole service package, and this is kind of where Intuit sort of, I guess, basically is the payroll provider. And this is called Intuit Full Service Payroll. And Intuit will walk the small business owner to setting it up. They'll walk them through the setup. They'll get everything all straightened out. And really all the small business owner has to do is log into Intuit Full Service Payroll, enter in the checks, and Intuit takes care of everything else. So there's 3 different options and 3 different pricing. So it really kind of depends on how the small business owner, how comfortable the small business owner really is doing it. This, client, QuickBooks Online Payroll, I would say the client is really comfortable doing the payroll. They don't have any problem making sure that their liabilities and their quarterly returns or their monthly returns get filed in a timely fashion. And this is kind of the other end of the spectrum where they really are not comfortable. And so we have Intuit Full Service Payroll take care of all that for them. For more information about that, you can go to payroll.intuit.com and you can check there. One thing that I want to stress is that if you have a small business who is converting from QuickBooks Pro, Premier, or Enterprise, and they're using one of the integrated payroll solutions with the desktop versions, they're going to have to start a new payroll subscription, and basically it doesn't convert. The transactions will convert, but the payroll subscription, you'll have to do a whole new payroll setup regardless of which one of these options you choose when you're converting from desktop. Now we get to talk about the App Center. It's one of my favorite things. I love the App Center and apps.com. I work with a lot of these developers. I know many of them. There's some really fantastic tools. You can get to the App Center simply by going to apps.com, or as I'm going to show you in a minute, you can get to the App Center directly from within QuickBooks Online. This is just a screenshot, and I'm going to get into it and show you in just a moment what the actual site looks like. But before we do, I just want to give you a taste of some of the apps, some of my favorite apps that I have had experience with using over the last few years. One of the first ones that I already mentioned is Method CRM. This is an amazing CRM tool. It was built from the ground up specifically to work with QuickBooks and QuickBooks Online. Danny and his partners up there in Canada have done an amazing job with this. And again, you can have the CRM and you can have your sales staff with their own CRM, their own method login. They never have to touch QuickBooks. So you can go in here, you can track your leads, your customers, your activities, all of the stuff that you would do in a normal CRM, and it all integrates with QuickBooks Online. So once you enter in this lead or you make any changes here, this information is going to sync across all the apps that are connected. So once you change it in Method, it'll sync to QBO, and any other add-ons that are connected will also be updated as well. Transaction Pro Importer, I think this is an amazing tool. Karen and John are the developers here, and they have done a great job making sure that we can get transactions into, and they also have a deleter as well, Transaction Pro Deleter, that's in the App Center. And these are really amazing tools to import lists or transactions. If you maybe have a small business who is converting from a non-Intuit accounting system, if they can get their transactions into some sort of spreadsheet format, they can use Transaction Pro Importer to get those transactions into QuickBooks Online. This is also from the App Center an amazing tool to import maybe a web store or eBay or PayPal transactions, or even a bank that doesn't really connect with QuickBooks Online. Maybe they're not part of the 18,000 financial institutions that are connected with the downloaded transactions within QBO. They can use Transaction Pro Importer to get that information into QBO. Avalara. Right now, Avalara technically is not in the App Center, but they are working on it. They are a gold certified Intuit developer. It does integrate with QuickBooks Online, and the reason I'm including it in this is because we have the Marketplace Fairness Act. At this time, it hasn't been voted into full-blown law, but what's going to happen is, with this Marketplace Fairness Act, there's a distinct possibility that, and maybe by the time you're watching this, it already is, that this is really going to affect the nexus that the small businesses have. If they're doing sales online, most of the states want a piece of that. They want that sales tax, and so Avalara is going to be a really great tool to at least have on your radar to tell the small businesses that you counsel about, because it'll handle any kind of really complex sales tax, and it does all the calculations. It will pay the payments, and it will file the returns. It kind of does everything, and it's already integrated with GoPayment. So if they're using the Intuit mobile credit card processor with sales tax turned on, they're already using GoPayment. SOS Inventory. SOS Inventory, and there's other inventory options in the App Center. This just happens to be the one that's been around kind of for the longest. It's a little bit near and dear to my heart because it's one of the first really great add-ons that worked with QuickBooks Online. This is an amazing warehouse inventory tool. There's another really good inventory app called Exact Online that I think has a handle more on manufacturing and the manufacturing process and distribution inventory. But when you're talking about warehouse inventory, QuickBooks Online does an amazing, or SOS Inventory does an amazing job. You can do assemblies, they're called kits in SOS. You can create sales orders, you can convert them to invoices in QBO. You can use LIFO, FIFO, average cost, so you can really do anything that you want as far as pricing or inventory valuation. And what I like too is that you can get email alerts when the inventory gets low, so that you need to, the clients, the small business owners need to know when to order. Mavenlink, I personally use Mavenlink. It's a great project management tool. What I like about this is it syncs with Google Docs. I'm a big Google user, so I use Google Drive, so it syncs with that. It syncs with my Google Calendar and a lot of other calendars. And what your small business owner can do is invite their customers or their clients to participate. So for me personally, when I get a new client and I'm doing a setup, I will invite them to participate in Mavenlink so that I can assign tasks to them, because there's certain things that I can't do unless I get specific information from my clients. And so a lot of times I can ask them over and over again, but when I ask them to participate in this and I give them a due date, I've found that I have a much better chance of getting the information that I need in a very timely manner. I have some contractor clients that I have set up with this, and they will, I have one who does a lot of remodeling, and he has his clients join, and every step of the way they can see where the project is. One thing that I like that he does is he will upload pictures of, say, bathroom hardware, or the finishes for the drawer pulls, the cabinet hardware, and say, hey, here's what we talked about. Here are the three things, the three that you liked the best. I need you to pick one of these, and he can assign a task and a due date for that, so he can let them know. And he will put it very clearly in writing. If you do not select one, we will select one for you. Just so that you know, and he has it written in his contract that if they're not going to participate and get the information to him in a timely fashion, that he's not going to be held liable for decisions that he has to make, if they don't participate. So it's a really, really neat tool. And what you can do is you can create an estimate in QuickBooks Online, or better yet, your sales staff can create an estimate in Mavenlink. They can, that estimate will flow through QBO into Mavenlink. The project manager can take that estimate and create a project with it, and each one of the line items in that estimate will be a deliverable task. They can track the time that goes with that on that project, and they can put that time in, and the time will flow back into QBO. They can create the invoice from Mavenlink, or they can just have the time pushed into QBO and create the invoice there. So there's a lot of flexibility with this program. Another one that I do dearly love is NCash, and what NCash does is it really takes the onus, what I think is a very heavy burden of small businesses in doing collection. A lot of small businesses, their customers and their clients are their friends, so it can be a little bit uncomfortable having to call and ask for past due invoices and things like that. So what NCash does is it is a really streamlined AR management tool to help, I love this, to shepherd those invoices from unpaid to paid. There's a beautiful accounts receivable dashboard. It will even handle legal collections. You can fully have the customer, their small business owner, fully automate it, or they can do things a la carte where they can kind of pick and choose. And one of my favorite things is that it will do receivables calls, and the small business owner can write the script. And so it kind of takes the onus off the small business owner, so they don't have to make the call. They can say, oh, well, my AR specialist did that. Yep, we'll take care of that. My new favorite app is TSheets. I sat for 2 hours at a conference in the summer of 2013. I sat in front of the CEO for 2 hours. He had wanted to schedule a demo for me, and I kept saying, no, I want to play with it. So I sat down, signed up, connected it to a QBO file, had it open on my laptop, downloaded the mobile app, and it is a really tremendous, amazing time clock software. It's a time tracking software. The employees can punch in, punch out. Here's one of my favorite things. The date and time stamp cannot be altered. So if you have any government requirements that you have regarding that, it is fully compliant. It's being used right now in probably close to 30 countries. I think the last time I talked to them, they were in 29 different countries. It's a really seamless sync. You have an ability to do approvals. You can get reminded to do the approval. It's a very fast approval process. You can customize the time off. You can customize the permissions, the access settings, and I think one of my favorites is not only can you see with the mobile app where an employee clocked in or clocked out, they can also choose a project or a customer, so a job. So we have job tracking on here as well. It integrates with QBO, it integrates with QuickBooks Desktop, and also you can set it so that I have seen time clocks, and I have used them, and I have had clients use them, where if for some reason an employee gets the time clock login, it's an online time clock. They go to a computer, they go to a website, they key in their ID and their password and they clock in and then they go to that same computer. I have actually seen some fraud happen with that where they have, for whatever reason, gained access to logging into the actual time clock system itself. And so they have been able to log into the time clock and log in from anywhere, not just the computer that was set up for them to do that login. With TSheets, you can avoid that. I think time fraud is one of the I think it's a very, very common and probably a very not caught, it's probably a rarely caught way of theft. And with this, you can set it up so that an employee can only clock in from a specific IP address or even down to a specific computer. So you can lock down those permissions pretty tightly. And I love the reason the CEO, Matt, talked to him and I asked him, how did you get started? And he owned some franchise stores. He owned 3 franchise stores a few years ago, and he just happened to be outside one of his stores, and one of his absolutely favorite, best employees, he never would have thought that they were doing anything like this. He found out that, he suspected that there was maybe, 10, 15 minutes of time clock cheating. And what he found is that even with what he considered his most honest, great, really great employees, there was sometimes up to 45 minutes to an hour of time theft that was going on. So he came up with this solution. He had a developer friend and they created this program. Really great time clock tool. The last one I want to talk about is Bill.com. This is a very easy way to create a system of separation of duties for a small business. A lot of times, the office manager is the one who enters the bills, pays the bills, writes all the checks, does the bank reconciliation, opens the bank statement. They pretty much do everything. Very rarely does a small business owner have the resources to really create a separation of duties. And I think Bill.com does a great job. What you can do with bills, with vendor bills is this, you can post them to Bill.com. You can have an employee do that. Your small business office manager can do that. Assign the owner as the approver, and so the owner actually has to go in, take a look at that bill. They can do it right on their phone. They can open up a PDF copy of the vendor bill and approve it. And so then once that's done, the employee, the office manager, can go back and pay that, and it actually can get paid directly through Bill.com. So there's no checks to cut, there's no check fraud. I have clients who have gone completely checkless. They know I do not use paper checks either. I've been in business 10 years, and I have some clients that have small business owners who have converted to using Bill.com, and they have eliminated their paper checks and thus eliminated the potential for fraud. So, and speaking of potential of check fraud, I really want to take a second to have you go to the Radio Free QB website, radiofreeqb.com, and look in the archives for our interview with Frank Abagnale. He talks about check fraud and how easy it is to perpetrate. He's the author of Catch Me If You Can, which was made into a movie, and Leonardo DiCaprio played him. It's an amazing interview, and if you own a checking account, or you know anybody who owns a checking account, I highly recommend listening to that. At this point, I'm going to hop over to my web browser, and I'm going to open up QBO, and I'm going to show you how simple it is to access the App Center from within QuickBooks Online. And I'm also going to show you how you can just take a look at it from just any web browser. So I'm logged into my QuickBooks Online company. And over here on my left-hand navigation bar, you can see apps. If I simply click on this will open up the App Center right within my QuickBooks Online subscription, so right within the browser window that I have. And what this is doing is giving you some featured apps, telling you a little bit more about the different app categories. You can scroll down and you can learn a little bit more about some of these. You can see there's a few that I have talked about: Bill.com, Transaction Pro Importer, Shoebox is another great one, and we have SOS Inventory. You can go to Find More Apps, and this actually opens up the App Center directly in another browser. So it gives you the full website in a different tab in your browser. If I wasn't logged in, I don't necessarily have to be logged into QuickBooks Online to get to it. If I go to this tab here, all I need to do is just type in apps.com, and it takes me right to that same page that just opened up. You can see over here from within QBO that it gave us. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to sign up for one. We're going to sign up for Method. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Method, and I'll show you how easy it is. So most of these apps have a free 30-day trial. I'm just going to simply choose Try It Now. And I want this to be in Larry's company. And I'm going to continue. So if you have access to more than one QBO subscription with your Intuit ID, it's going to let you choose which one you want. So I'm going to say Continue. And say go ahead and authorize Intuit to share your data. So it's saying, you want to share your QBO data with Method. I want to go ahead and authorize this. And now it's just they're just talking to each other. It just takes a couple seconds. I'm going to actually go ahead and change this to myself. Here we go. And that. SBDC on-demand webinar. And my method password here. And there we go. And just click Next. Couple minutes, a couple seconds actually, and we are ready to go. So I'm saying I use QuickBooks Online. I'm a new Method user, and I just need to go ahead and connect it to QuickBooks Online. And once you get in, everything is all connected, and you can see they are connected, and you'll be able to go ahead and access this. Very, very simple process. So now I can just start using this, and then once you start, I can go in and I can enter some customers. You can see all of these came from my file. So it's connected, it talked to QBO, and if I look at my customer list here, if I go back into QuickBooks Online and look at my customer list, all of the same customers. So it synced all of that data together. So now I can have my sales staff just dealing with Method and interacting with Method. They never have to touch my QBO, and everything gets synced very nicely. From Method, I can actually flip back over to QuickBooks Online if I need to, and I can actually also connect to the other apps that I have that are connected to this program as well, or connected to this account as well. If I flip over to QuickBooks Online and I go over to apps, you can see these are my connected apps. If I want to, I could simply click on that. It's going to open up those apps in another tab as well. So very, very easy to connect these accounts. You can see it just takes a couple minutes, and they're easily accessible directly from QBO as well. So back here in my PowerPoint, I love this little thing where this is kind of running, this is the small business life cycle, and this is a very typical kind of situation about running your small business online. And so what happens is they're going to acquire the customers. They can use something like Method CRM or Salesforce like you have here. They can use Mavenlink to manage projects, but there's others to do that. If they need to manage inventory, if they're mostly warehouse inventory, they can take a look at SOS Inventory. If they're more of a manufacturing or distribution, they could look at something like SOS Inventory or Exact Online. If they need to track time and expenses, they can look at eBility or what we talked about earlier, TSheets. That's another great tool as well. Paying bills, we have Bill.com, and then with getting paid, we have NCash too. So, and there's other programs and other add-ons as well. So you can see all of these are connected, and they really make it very easy. And once the company, what I like about this is they can put all of these tools in place, and as the small business grows, they have these processes in place. And so if they need someone who's just managing inventory, they can just have an SOS Inventory login. If they're really just dealing with time and payroll, tracking expenses and time, then they really maybe only need to have access to TSheets so that they can process and approve payroll or whatever time tracking, expense tracking you're using. If there are payables, if they're in charge of payables, it's possible that they only need to access Bill.com. Maybe they have a part-time payables person who works, a couple hours a day or a couple hours a week. And then really with the getting paid, you can let NCash. You really don't even have to have anybody really deal with that. The office manager or the small business owner themselves can have their own NCash login. Really, a lot of really great solutions, and this allows small businesses to really expand and grow, I think, a lot more easily than they have been able to in the past. Just to recap a little bit, I think using QuickBooks Online and working remotely or working online and working in the cloud, if you will, again, the workflow, the time savings, when you go back to that small business life cycle, you're really entering the data one time, and then you're just manipulating the data in those other applications because they all sync together. They all sync with QBO, and once it is synced to QuickBooks Online, it'll spread out and it'll sync to the other add-ons as well. What's really neat, and what I don't have a lot of time to show you, is having some time and expenses tracked in eBility, and then using that to create an invoice and estimate. There's a lot of really great scenarios that we can show you, but we just don't have time. So I want to thank you very much for taking the time. Check out the App Center, the payroll. So if you go to apps.com and payroll.intuit.com, and you can have any other questions, and I'm really glad that you took the time to take this course. Again, here are some of the course objectives that we had today. And the next steps is we have some other webinars, on-demand webinars. We have done a Train the Trainer, which will help you choose which QuickBooks Online solution might be best for the small business that comes to you. We have the Getting Started one, and this is really entering transactions, how to set up those files, that data file once the customer, the small business owner, chooses QBO. We have the Cloud Pro Advisor program. This is an awesome tool for you guys as SBDC counselors to learn the product, get certified, to let people know that you're out there and that you can help them. And then we also have QuickBooks Online Accountant. I know the last couple of years I've been at the SBDC conferences and I've talked to a lot of the counselors there. And what happens is these small businesses come to you. If they're new, you can help them set up. You can use these webinars to learn how to help them set up. If they're existing, a lot of times what I've heard you guys say is that you spend a lot of time doing some cleanup and getting them kind of on the straight and narrow. And QBO QuickBooks Online Accountant, is really going to be the tool to help you do that. So enjoy, and make sure you guys check out the other on-demand training we have for you.